The Aramingo, Olga's, Zorba's, South Street Souvlaki. These are just some of the iconic Greek eateries throughout the Delaware Valley. While many of them are still around today, that history can be traced back more than a century. This is Greek Diners and Restaurants, the start of the American dream. At the beginning of the 20th century, Greek immigrants arrived in America in waves from their villages, towns, and cities. They worked their way up the ladder of success in the food business as busboys, dishwashers, and cooks. Eventually, they established their own dynasties, and in the process, they laid the foundation for their future communities and churches, becoming a cornerstone of today's Greek American community.
My father took me to work once in a while when I was little. He had an old Greek cook down in the basement of the old place. He used to teach me how to make rice pudding, soups, typical Greek type food, you know, every Greek diner has. And I caught interest in cooking that way.
Actually, I got into food business like this. I was 9 years old, and my mother and a friend that she grew up with, who lived right around the corner, was a very nice man, and took me under his wing, and we went with him as a food distributor, and that's what he did for a living. And I would help him and carry the boxes into the restaurants, and I would watch at the first stop, and let's just say they were making beef stew. I saw step one. Next stop, beef stew. Saw step two. And I got addicted to the food business.
I came here, actually I was in Merchant Marines, and I decided to jump ship. And in Florida, I came to New York, took airplane, come to New York, and from New York I took taxi, and I came to New Jersey, Brooklyn, New Jersey, where my brother was working at Pancho's Diner. Over there, as usually, we all started as dishwashers. So I was working so hard as dishwasher that I observed the owner at the time. The owner at the time observed, he says, where I find this fool working so hard, doesn't speak to anybody. He was observing that. And the reason I was doing that is, I was speeding up and I doing the dishes because in my thoughts, I said, this is not a job that I want to stay. I want to become either a cook or a baker. And in 2 months, I requested to allow me to go and learn the bakery work.
I started as a busboy in the Haddington. I worked there for 8-9 years. I went to a vocational school, David Vocational School. And then in 1966, I opened the Arrow Restaurant.
I had just come out of the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, and that was the culmination of working in the restaurant business as a young man from 12 years old, I went to the University of Pennsylvania a couple of years. I went in the Coast Guard 4 years. I got out of there, I went to the CIA because I realized I love the business, I love people, I love interacting, and I love the work.
I came from Greece, 1974. I started to do dishes first, wash dishes, and little by little I learned the job because I have to, make living.
Diners are so special because they zero in on America. This is not a Greek thing. This is American. This is America. Hot beef sandwich, turkey sandwich, club sandwich, burgers, What's America made of? It's made of sandwiches and hot beef sandwiches. And then they started introducing the higher end. We're going to make scallops and we're going to make seafood and they're going to make pasticcio. Then they started introducing the Greek meals, which gave the people a different spin on the diner. Some of them did great with it. Some of them in the right locations were good. In the wrong locations, where I was, maybe they ate stuffed cabbage because I had the Polish here. Maybe they would eat galumpkies, as they call them. But you have to know your customer. You have to know your market.
My unique flavor is, if they have it, is the sea bass. But diner restaurants not always have that. You know, sea bass is a very unique fish. I used to catch that by hands when I was a teenager in Greece, going to the ocean, and we catch them by hands. There's a technique involved there. So that's why it's not only my favor the way it tastes, but also my favor because I was holding them in my hands. I was catching them. So you go to the salty waters and you go in on a malt up to the knee, and you open 3 holes in between your legs, and you throw dirt behind you and you make noise. And can I describe the noise? You go hoo, 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 and you throw dirt. And then the fishes get scared. They're jumping from front, left and right, and they go into the holes, and you go hoo, 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 and you grab them from the head, you lift them up, and you put them on your bucket. So it was an experience that not too many people have the opportunity to know that. And over here, now I don't have that opportunity, but I have the opportunity to chuck boiler and eat it.
I have added several things to the menu over the years, and I keep adding. The one that comes up to me and kind of stands with me is the stuffed peppers, simply because they're my mother's recipe. They're so good. I was eating them when I was a kid, and I wanted to eat them as an adult, so I told my chef to change from his recipe to my mother's recipe. That way, I'm having something that I was always having as a kid, and more importantly, my customers love them.
When I go into a diner, and this has over the years it changed, but my favorite thing when I went into a diner, especially back in the day, back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, I always wanted to try their soups. The soups were, there was no Wawa, there was no soup place back in those years. The diners, 24 hours, and what they did. But I know in my own place, I love things like exotico arni, good Greek-style lamb. Of course, the pasticcio we made was exceptional. I did like to try the Greek entrees.
Thank God we had great vendors in our community. The diner community would not have been what it is today if it wasn't for our vendors. Our vendors were so devoted to us as we were devoted to them. Example, Lacus Coffee Company was around from the early 20s, 30s. They had friends in New York, Vasilaros, that had their major. New York City was controlled by Vasilaros Coffee. John Vasilaros was relatives with Lacus Coffee Company. They taught them, they helped one another. They worked together. Even when Lacus Coffee had a fire at 1010 Wood Street, they still continued to make Lacus Coffee in New York and ship it back down to them so they could distribute and keep their customers accustomed to using Lacus Coffee. Now, Lacus Coffee made it through that period, and they got bigger and better. But that happened the same thing to diners. Diners went out of business, they had problems, they brought in Lacus Coffee, they bailed out the next guy, they helped them with it, they gave them the free order for the first time and say, please use our product. And as time went on, they helped them. If they were a little bit behind on their bill, they said, we'll pick it up next month. That was just the Lacus Coffee. The Fisfuses, they ran a mom and pop operation, but they went from an 8,000 square foot warehouse to a 15,000 square foot warehouse to a 38,000 square foot warehouse. Where what? How did they get big like that? They got big because of the Calosini, because of the people working together with them. He helped them, they helped you. They worked together. Cedar Farms. Cedar Farms is a huge business. I remember Gus Bajidi on a truck, refrigerated truck, delivering eggs to the streets up and down from Kensington Avenue all the way up to Front Street. I was there next to him, seeing him unloaded. That was just one man that helped. Now his son Peter operates a huge business. I don't know how many trucks, I don't know how many turkeys, I don't know. It's none of my business. But thank God they did well and they helped everybody.
How so, though?
They helped them by giving them credit, which most of them, during the recession time, didn't have the ability to go to the bank and say, can you give me a line of credit? And they'd look at you and say, well, you're a diner, you're a luncheonette, you're a restaurant. We don't give diners and luncheonettes lines of credit. But the distributors that were doing big business were able to get and carry you through the time. So you didn't pay them a month, you didn't pay them 2 months. By the third month, you paid. You started picking up. Once the thing changed, they stuck with you because they became what? They became indebted to you. We're brother. It's that brotherhood of saying, you helped me when I was down. The Greeks got together probably in the 40s and really took over the city. And they had the luncheonettes. They went from hot dog carts to luncheonettes. They went up that ladder.
There was quite a bit of interaction and camaraderie with a lot of the diner owners. We knew each other, and one of the things that brought us together prior to us, starting an organization where diner owners would benefit the same way a franchisee or franchisor would benefit from buying together, but we didn't warehouse or distribute things, but we basically negotiated special deals. And if you were a restaurant owner, you had the choice to use those deals. So what happened was we started in 1984, Delaware Valley Purchasing Group. I was the founding president of the group. There was 33 restaurants that organized to get together. They were pretty much in Cherry Hill, Camden, Stratford, different area in Camden County for the most part. And what we had about 10 people on the board of directors, really high profile, very strong restaurant owners. I felt like I was the new kid on the block. I was well known because of my father, who was extremely well known. But I had come out of CIA. I was full of, a lot of energy and ideas and so forth. I'd worked for Hyatt Corporation in the hotels, in the food section. And basically they said, we want you to be the president. I think it was because a lot of them were smart enough to realize that the president does a lot of the work and the board gives a lot of great ideas. But we had wonderful people on the board, and eventually we negotiated with Pepsi and Coke and so forth. Everybody had Coke back then. Pepsi came in with a young group of people, very, very, very strong, and took the deal. We got together, and then from 33 restaurateurs, we went to about 900 by the time, by 2000, as 84 to 2015, 2016. All independent restaurant owners.
Living in a diner business, it was our life. Our connection to the people in the diner and the ones that we associate, and we became friends through the years. I still meet some of the people here today that we started from the beginning.
Sometimes it's said that the diner and the diner business was a big part of the American dream for the diner owners, but also many people. You know, you think about McDonald's today, you think about all these different fast food places. Where does a young person get a start in a restaurant? Well, being a dishwasher, being a busboy, cleaning up the parking lot. This was what most of the children of the Greek diner owner were anxious to do, because they could make, like I did, 25 cents an hour and work 40 hours, even though you're 12 years old. You know, there was no labor law is going to stop a father from putting his son to work.
Στα diners την αξία που είχαν για τους Έλληνες μετανάστες, διότι βοηθούσαν τους Έλληνες να απολαύσουν το American Dream. Και όπως είχα πει και σε μια άλλη συνέντευξη, we lived the American dream in all its fullness.
I want everybody to realize we live in the greatest country in the world. It gives you the opportunity, if you have a dream, to fulfill that dream, you know, and this is the United States of America. You know, you cannot have this opportunity in some other countries, very few countries.
Was this your American dream?
This is the American dream, baby, and I mean, I'm living it, I'm enjoying it, you know, and thanks to God, I was successful.